Welcome to Mexico's capital, one of the world's most dynamic cities and home to 20 million people. I'm here in the Plaza de la Constitución, otherwise known as the Zocalo, which is a large enough space to fit 100,000 people. Behind me is the National Cathedral, and to my left is the sprawling Presidential Palace. I've just come from my hotel in the heart of Mexico City's historic center, and what better place to begin our exploration of this city. So let's get started.
From a corner of the Zocalo, it's almost literally a stone's throw to one of the great archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, the ancient Mexica and then Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, founded 700 years ago. These are the ruins of the Templo Mayor, dedicated to the Aztec god of war Huitzilopochtli and the rain god Tlaloc.
The temple, dating to the 1300s, and the structures around it were destroyed after Spanish colonizer Hernán Cortés conquered Tenochtitlan in 1521. Its stones were hauled away to build the cathedral next door, as well as the vice-regal palace that is today's presidential palace. Over time, the ruins were built over, and Tenochtitlan was largely forgotten. But in 1978, an electrical company's crew digging nearby struck a large object that turned out to be an 8.5-ton sacred monolith. And during the ensuing 4 years, under presidential decree, more than a dozen buildings were raised here, and the ancient Aztec capital was uncovered.
These renderings of Tenochtitlan as it existed in 1519 on an island in the middle of Lake Texcoco underscore an unpleasant fact about Mexico City. With millions of people dwelling on an ancient lake that has long since dried up, Mexico's capital is sinking. This is Avenida Madero, a walking street that runs through the heart of the city's central historic district from the Zocalo to the Parque Alameda Central, where the vibe is mellow and where one is rarely out of range of an organ grinder.
Behind me is a favorite Mexico City landmark, the Casa de Azulejos, or House of Tiles, which is actually a Baroque palace dating back prior to independence, way back to the 1700s, built by a Spanish count. And it has a very illustrious history.
Although the front of the building is a combination bakery and gift shop, the House of Tiles has long been known as the flagship of the restaurant chain founded by two American brothers, Frank and Walter Sanborn, who opened shop here more than a century ago. There's a famous photo of revolutionaries Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata having breakfast together here in 1914 during the Second Mexican Revolution. One thing's for sure, with murals by José Clemente Orozco and others on the walls, it's one evocative place to have a hamburger.
Just up ahead is the Torre Latinoamerica, which for many years was the tallest building in Mexico City. It's only been in the last few decades that new construction technology has made it possible to build real skyscrapers of the kind that line the Avenida de la Reforma. Still, the Latin America Tower is a sentimental favorite among Chilangos, as Mexico City residents are known, and it's a great place to have a drink and watch the sunset.
Just beyond Avenida Madero is the Alameda Park, the oldest public park in the Americas, going back to 1592. Much earlier, it was an Aztec marketplace. For centuries, it has been at the center of the city's civic life. Artist Diego Rivera was so fond of his memories of the park as a child, he painted Dream of a Sunday Afternoon in Alameda Central Park, a mural masterpiece housed in a museum nearby. It remains a popular place to stroll and people watch in the heart of the city. Next to the park is this place, a Mexican cultural icon.
Arguably one of the most beautiful buildings in the city is the Palacio de Bellas Artes behind me, completed in the 1930s, and which has hosted a who's who of the world's great performers.
The Bellas Artes houses two of the city's leading arts institutions, its symphony orchestra, as well as the world-renowned Ballet Folklórico. And the public space around it is considered public patrimony, irrespective of class or caste. This morning, a motorcycle club has gathered here to celebrate the end of a ride.
¡Una nueva corre! ¡Vamos, Tilín! ¡Ese tiene igual que yo! Ese güey no le gustan las fotos.
Híjole, no he comido, nomás.
Ahí va. ¡Vamos, Tilín! ¡Dale, Tilín!
Rumbo al 4 de diciembre por las personas con discapacidad. Gracias a todos.
¡Vamos! ¡Somos libres, somos bikers!
¡Somos libres y bikers!
¿Te la paso si quieres? ¿Te la paso? Es que sí son
Yet a few feet away are these people, desperate campesinos from the state of Oaxaca, who've come hoping to draw attention to their plight. Many have been here for months. In a makeshift mess tent, I meet Jose, a teenager who calmly tells me that the people from his rural village are caught between thugs affiliated with drug cartels who've driven them from their land and corrupt officials who promise help but don't deliver. Numerous people he knows have been assaulted, he says, and one of his relatives assassinated. And so they squat here, women and children, internal refugees, in the shadow of the symphony crowd, waiting and hoping that someone will take notice. It's just the reality check one needs before visiting the city's gleaming monument to the revolution. It's an impressive modernistic structure. The draw here is the view, if you're willing to climb stairs that go to the top deck beyond the glass-enclosed elevator. From the top, you see some of the splendor of Mexico City, with the Oaxacans back at the Bellas Artes, out of sight. One place you do not want to miss in Mexico City is Bosque de Chapultepec, or Chapultepec Park, which I'm entering from near the Avenida de la Reforma at the impressive monument to the Niños Héroes. More about them in a minute. For a modest fee, you can head up Chapultepec Hill to take in another of Mexico's iconic cultural and historic sites.
I'm here in Bosque Chapultepec, in the middle of Mexico City, and one of the largest urban parks in the Western Hemisphere. It's home to Mexico City's zoo, its Museum of Anthropology, as well as the museum dedicated to the works of the great artist Rufino Tamayo. But its most famous structure is where I'm standing, on a balcony at Chapultepec Castle, built by the Spanish as a royal house and later used as the official residence of the Mexican head of state.
Think of New York's Central Park on steroids, and that's what you have in Chapultepec. Locals rightfully refer to it as the lungs of the city. And its crown jewel is the castle. Although built by a Spanish viceroy, it's most associated with someone who only lived in it for 3 years. That being the Austrian Archduke Maximilian, whom a conservative cabal installed as Mexico's one and only emperor during the 1860s. Things didn't go well. He was taken out and shot by firing squad in 1867. It's a museum now, filled with national memorabilia and impressive murals. You can see Maximilian's royal carriages, and peek into Empress Carlotta's bedroom. She's long remained an object of fascination among Mexicans.
The monument of the Niños Héroes at the bottom of the hill honors 6 teenage soldiers who defended the castle at the expense of their lives against invading American forces in 1847 during the so-called Battle of Chapultepec. In fact, the American Marine Corps hymn gives a nod to the battle with the line from the halls of Moctezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Never mind that the lyric was a bit flawed. Moctezuma was long gone by the time the Spaniards built the place.
Beyond the aforementioned institutions that reside there, Chapultepec is an urban oasis. On a park promenade, a traveling exhibition of art copies from Madrid's Prado Museum. For me, it's time to head back downtown for sunset at the Latinoamerica Tower. An idea shared by plenty of others.
You know, at 45 stories, it may not be the tallest of buildings, but this was the world's first skyscraper successfully built in a highly active seismic zone. And during the 1985 8.1 magnitude Mexico City earthquake, while other buildings collapsed below, this tower was undamaged. The elevator goes to floor 37, after which one can climb several levels higher to the ultimate observation deck, the outdoor one, where I'm standing now, offering splendid views of nighttime Mexico City.
Afterward, on Avenida Madero, the sweaters are out, as are the organ grinders. And I'm thinking about tomorrow in Mexico City.